In the last two rooms of the exhibition, we move away from Rubble, looking at the architecture of Rubble in Warsaw. And in the last room, we enter even broader focus, looking at the landscape of Rubble in post-war Warsaw. Landscape in which natural and cultural intersects, landscape with history, with memory, landscape produced in the process of post-war rubble clearance and removal. And when we enter the room, we see the table with several drawings by Mieczysław Jurgielewicz. Those drawings have a common title, Gardens of Warsaw After Uprising, and they depict this amalgam of natural forms such as destroyed or burned trees, mixing with rubble, with steel beams, all of that creating this so-called unknown natural landscape of post-war Warsaw. And with those works, we can associate also the works of botanists in the post-war Warsaw, particularly those employed in Warsaw Reconstruction Office, Jadwiga and Roman Kobenza. Those botanists acknowledged in the spring of 1945 that rubble has bloomed. So gray mass of rubble started to be covered with plants, some of them with flowers. And in that new ecosystem, they saw a very new subject of knowledge. Those ecosystems were later called by Roman Kobenza ruderal plants. The same work has been undertaken at the time in Berlin, and today ruderal species are also called the fourth nature. Specifically, this means all those plants and flora which grows on the sites completely changed by human disturbance, rubble being a great example of that. Also the name ruderal comes from Latin rudus, so rubble. What was specific about those plants was that they were not growing in area of Warsaw before, they were not indigenous plants. Instead, those were plants which could survive the desert-like conditions on rubble. And so, for example, Kobenza encountered tomatoes or other types of plants growing in rubble. And this intersection of nature and culture brings us to ideas for using rubble in memorialization of war and wartime history of Warsaw, to which the whole frontal wall of the room is devoted to. On the wall, we can see a history of struggle to turn rubble or rubble mounds, rubble hills across the city into memorials. This began in 1945 with a project by architect Stanisław Gruszczyński, who proposed to look differently on rubble being removed from the city. He said that it shouldn't be treated as a detritus, it should be treated as a relic, as a material on which thousands of hands worked on, thousands of tears soaked into, as well as blood. And his design for a 160 meters high hill in the city center of Warsaw wasn't realized, but the idea to turn a rubble mound into a monument persisted, and it was actually taken up in 1990s when the Czerniakowska mound, a wasteland, a place where first rubble and then municipal waste was deposited, it was suggested for it to be turned into a monument of Warsaw Uprising. This was an agenda of architect from Warsaw Reconstruction Office and the fighter of Warsaw Uprising, Eugeniusz Ajewski, who approached the municipality to change the name of the mound as well as erect a symbol of Warsaw Uprising on the top of it. This was realized in the beginning of 21st century, and actually only this year, in 2023, the park and the mound will open in a new renovated version. And to finish the tour, please look at the outside the window in the room to see the reconstructed Old Town. And then look back on the three tables on the left side of the room on which the rubble of the Old Town is exhibited. It's quite specific type of rubble. It comes from a collection of the employee of the museum, Barbara Bazińska, who in the 1940s and 50s made a deal with the workers clearing the rubble in the Old Town, workers reconstructing the Old Town, asking them to let her know when they find some ceramics, such as ceramic vases or ceramic plates, let her know. She also inspected all the horse carriages with rubble exiting the Old Town in order to look for those pieces of ceramics. And in this process, she established a unique collection of ceramics dating back even to 16th century, coming from the most well-known manufacturers across Europe and from Asia. Those ceramics were mainly coming from the Royal Palace in Warsaw, but could be also used by the upper middle classes of the pre-war city. And today, thousands of such pieces are stored in the collection of Museum of Warsaw. And this is a unique occasion to see them, as the last time they were shown was in the 1980s. And with that in mind, I wanted to thank you for participating in this tour. Thank you for listening. And I hope this exhibition will give you a new perspective on Warsaw and will allow you to see the city differently. And I hope that the idea of building from rubble will inspire you to think differently about architecture, also in the contemporary context. Thank you.